are literally shaping the planet.
Purpose is the only pathway to a regenerative future.
We have a choice to stay with the status quo or to change.
What is the point of trying to be just resilient when we can actually innovate?
NRB, now ModelLogic, has been really on the forefront of off-site construction since '79. Bob McNeil and the McNeil family in Grimsby, Ontario, established the first plant in Grimsby. 2013, established the U.S. presence. 2015, actually put a between a $7 and $8 million investment in a new plant in New Holland, Pennsylvania. What's unique about ModelLogic is that we really have what we consider a build together process. So rather than assembly line or static build, we literally take modules, steel structural frame modules, we bolt them together horizontally, vertically, and then it becomes a conventional project from there. And then we disassemble. So buildings have already been together once. We have the ability to be able to get buildings to a higher level of completion than really anybody from mechanical, electrical, plumbing standpoint, interior and exterior finishes. So it's a unique process. It doesn't lend itself to high volume, although we have done some relatively large projects that, 85 to 100,000 square foot type on scale with those types of projects. So we're unique in that way. And one of the projects you'll see that hopefully we'll get up and on the screen is a project that John Axis and ModelLogic developed really from the very beginning together.
Yeah, so just a little background on Axis Construction. We're a construction management general contractor in the New York area, just outside of New York City on Long Island, based in Long Island. We have well over 25 years of experience, primarily in healthcare construction, and then about 21 years ago, I started a modular division for Axis, and we focus on permanent modular buildings. Just about every type of building other than residential we've done at this point. And again, our focus mainly is on healthcare. So that is, little background. I've been in the industry for over 35 years, as Zach had indicated earlier. And the alliance, and it's really a strategic alliance between Axis and ModelLogic. We're totally independent companies, but we have a strong partnership with each other when we go after these projects and have collaborated on numerous off-site construction projects and have been fairly successful with these projects and bringing off-site construction to the next level. So I think everybody can see my screen now. Jim, can you see that?
I can, yep.
All right. So, we got through the introductions. We're going to go through some challenges, solutions, the process, and if time allows, some additional case studies. Again, we did the introductions. Again, briefly on that. So this is, we just want to start with a little video of this most recent project that we did, which is the Good Samaritan Pediatric ED addition. It's roughly a 6,800 square foot modular building addition that we did for Good Samaritan Hospital out in West Islip, New York. They were in desperate need to expand their ED department, particularly for pediatric. They have over 20,000 visits per year on pediatric ED visits. And they really wanted to get them out of the general ED and set something aside and have it built in such a way that it was soothing and calming, not just for the kids that were going in there, but for the parents. Obviously, these are difficult times when they're bringing the kids in there. So this video will just show you a little bit about that, and then we'll get more into the details, as we progress through the presentation. So this will be a quick clip.
This is Dave Cooper, and we're at Good Samaritan Hospital in West Islip, New York. And right now I am standing inside a modular, roughly 7,000 square foot modular pediatric emergency room addition that we did for the hospital. And Joe Boyacano You were the one from ground zero that was part of this entire planning process and helped make the decision that offsite modular was the way you're going to go.
As with many other hospitals, particularly in highly populated areas, space and land is always a problem. John Bongiorno came and introduced me to this notion of a modular construction, whereby we could reduce the laydown area for the project and speed up the construction, thereby reducing the amount of disruption. We started, I think we broke ground in around March or February or something, and here it is in June, and the building's up, and we're ready to see patients next week. We were able to construct the foundation and do all of the site work at the same time that you guys were building the building. Even more impressive than how fast we were able to finish the project by doing this kind of simultaneous construction was the fact that we got hit with a pandemic. Through the entire process, we didn't miss a beat.
The COVID pandemic actually sped up this process.
Right.
And really pushed us as we saw a need to have dedicated space, private rooms for our patients.
Right.
And the fact that this was modular construction obviously was great, not only for us on campus here, but for the entire community, because there was a lot less disruption.
This is really an eye-opener, how this thing came complete. You had the walls primed and the oxygen outlets in and the doors hung and everything was taped shut. It was really quite incredible. Even
the pneumatic tubes were in for the pharmacy feeds,
All you had to do was connect it.
Everyone that walks into it and walks through is pretty amazed. If we didn't tell people it was modular, there's no way anybody would be able to tell.
So that really, as you see, very quick clip. And this is the exterior of the building. So this was added right onto the back of the facility, right adjacent to the existing ED. And as you heard, the pandemic did speed this process up. And this was not a project that was COVID related initially. We had started construction at Jim's plant towards the end of last year in December, and we were always set for delivery sometime in April. But when the pandemic hit, we were asked to see if we could speed up the process as the need for beds, additional beds, especially ICU and independent beds, really became urgent. So working through some challenges, both on site, we didn't break ground, as you heard, until around beginning of March. And we were able to accelerate the schedule on site, even though we did have to shut the site down for a couple weeks early on. We had a couple of positive test cases early on with workers on the site, so we needed to shut the site down, go through some protocols, and then get back operational. But Jim's plant was also shut down for a period of time. Pennsylvania shut all work down, and through the help of some local folks, both in Pennsylvania as well as New York, pushing and us getting some letters from the hospital and other agencies, ModLogic was given the opportunity by the state of Pennsylvania to open back up just for this project, as it was deemed an essential healthcare project. So, Jim, why don't you explain a little bit how you were able to push your schedule up a bit? Because again, schedule urgencies, one of the challenges was schedule urgency, but why don't you explain how you were able to push that up a bit?
Yeah, thanks, John. We're known for schedule acceleration, but urgency became the key operative word when COVID hit. Hospital had reached out to John and his team and asked if we could accelerate the process. Literally within days of that request, the state of Pennsylvania had shut down all but essential businesses. Construction companies were not part of that, and we fall into that category, even though we're off-site. We had to lobby hard, as John mentioned, with both state, local officials, Pennsylvania, New York. Our plea was listen, we're building a hospital that's going to New York. So I think somebody's going to want to, there's got to be a way to find, for us to be able to continue our work. So we got that approval. The next day, the state came back and said hospital construction is allowable. We then had contractors, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, subcontractors who are already working on the job, had sort of come to us and said, listen, we've got availability. We've got most of our projects are shut down. What can we do to help? So that really helped us formulate a plan to be able to I think it was 3 weeks, John. We were able to improve the schedule on this project in the midst of a pandemic, which was no small challenge.
Right. So the schedule urgency not just was because of the pandemic, but really just because of the demand that Good Sam has with treating ED visits. They have over 90,000 ED visits a year, and over 20,000 of those are pediatric. So they really wanted to get the kids separated from the general public, so to speak, adults and whatnot. They are the only level 2 pediatric trauma center on the South Shore of Long Island. So there's a great demand for them to, achieve this goal of providing this specialized space. And then when the pandemic hit, we were able to take an additional 3 weeks off of the schedule, which was huge for them. And as you had heard, we started setting the modules in April, and we were able to turn the building over for patients to be seen by July 4th. So it was through a complete team effort with the hospital, the workers, the subcontractors, Jim's team, all of the folks at Axis, the hospital working together to get this project done. So initially they had chosen offsite construction, really because the site is constrained. This is the site, this is their property. And in the shadowed out areas, you can see there's residential homes to either side. There's a high school across the street. The neighbors weren't thrilled that this construction was going to take place. They never are. When it's in their neighborhood, they want this, but they're never happy with it. And then the laydown area for parking, things of that nature, the number of trucks. So speed to market was important. We'll get into that in a little bit. But again, the lack of disruption on the site, being that it's a constrained site, they needed to continue operations at the hospital. It's not something you could just shut down and do this work. So we were working throughout the pandemic and adjacent to their existing ER, which also served obviously as their COVID treatment center in the height of this back in March, April, May. It was a challenging situation, but again, with a lot of planning and scheduling, things worked out. Again, the COVID hit, and we just had to keep working. As Dr. Rayo had indicated, once the pandemic hit, it created an even bigger need to have private dedicated rooms. So we achieved all of their goals of schedule, budget certainty, lack of disruption on site. So the solution was off-site construction. Jim, why don't you walk through exactly what it is that you folks do?
Yeah, so we're design assist. So we're the sort of combination, the hybrid between conventional construction and offsite construction or modular construction, which we call offsite construction. We're design assist. So we're working with John, his team, the architect of record, the hospital's design team, to be able to at the early stage determine buildability, constructability. Does this make sense? Oftentimes with John and his team, experience that they have, they're bringing those opportunities or those building applications that kind of already fit our model, and they understand that. So we're design assist. We're creating the structural module. The structural model. So once that structural model is created in Revit, And that's what makes our buildings, buildable, is the modular configuration of them. The ability to be able to then take that and hand that to the architect of record is what makes our process unique. They're designing that project in line with how they would design it conventionally.
Yeah, so the schedule acceleration on this particular project, we achieved, like you said, in basically under 11 weeks, we were able to go from setting the modules to having patients being seen in the building. But overall, this delivery method of offsite construction saved close to 6 months on what it would have been on a conventional build. So those are always things that are attractive to the end users, speed to market, schedule certainty, cost certainty, things of those natures, really what we strive to achieve and give to our clients. And it's not uncommon for us to have schedules that result in 25 to 40% savings on the schedule when it comes to doing it offsite versus conventional. So again, the site impact issue is huge when you're looking at projects like this, and how can you lessen the impact? If we were to build this conventionally, we would have needed this yellow area for construction laydown, bringing materials in, staging, office trailers for various subs, things of that nature. By doing it offsite, and we were able to limit the impact to the site, save them over 165 parking spots that they were able to use throughout the construction. We estimated that there was over 1,800 fewer vehicles entering the site. And then it clearly is a little bit cleaner, safer, as we're, following through. So again, what we did was when we brought the modules in, we just needed that staging area for 4 days during the set the buildings, and then we just utilized the area in the green, able to give them back those 165 spots, which is always critical, on various sites, and that's something to keep in mind. So some of the things with volumetric construction, offsite construction, is it really affords the end user, the client, with cost certainty. We always promote that. It is because we're getting involved early on, or if we get involved early on, we're able to go through these steps that Jim had mentioned, and he'll go a little bit more into the BIM briefly, but I think most people know what that is, the 3D modeling. We work together with the design team. By doing that, we're identifying all of the hits and issues before construction actually even starts, because until we have a fully developed set of construction documents, we don't start fabrication in the plant. Jim doesn't, ModLogic doesn't. So that helps eliminate a lot of the issues that you find if you were building it conventionally, and then you find a miss out in the field. Again, the way that ModLogic builds their buildings together, we bring product out to over 85% complete, with wall finishes, med gases, things of that nature, or doors, hardware, protection, mechanical systems. It's built indoors, so there's no issues with weather. And again, we're bringing it out to market, that much quicker, and particularly for any sort of revenue producing facility, whether it is a hospital or any other project that you might be working on or looking at, getting to market is always better if you do it quicker.
Yeah, and to your point, John, with respect to cost certainty, there's no magic to this. We're controlling the variables that traditionally impact cost. Upfront design, the variability of that. When we start in BIM, we're able to model that project, work out all the issues and challenges, clash detections. We're going to minimize those the changes that occur over time. The build together process allows us to be able to do exactly that. It's already been together once. It's unique about our process. And those are the things, and John will tell you this in his 30 years plus experience, that's where the issues arise. That's where the changes arise. More efficient use of materials. And as John mentioned, the revenue piece is important to the overall equation around cost, not just cost certainty, but cost effectiveness and total cost of the project.
Right. And again, we're design assist. We're working with your design team, your architects, your MEP engineers. We certainly have the capability of bringing that under our umbrella. But most times we're working with the client's design team. So we're not taking any of that over. We're not limiting anything. We're just looking to get involved upfront so that you can capture all the inherent benefits of modular early on. And the more that we can do that and help with that, the better the project, will turn out. Again, this is inside ModLogic's plant. Buildings are built inside. They also have the capability, depending on the size and projects that they have going on. They have an additional 16 acres, I believe, outside where, buildings get built and weathered in. And again, this all leads to, quality. So Jim, why don't you quickly go through this? Because I have a feeling, Zach, we're running out of time.
Yeah, we'll get through, quality. The question is, conventional versus modular or offsite construction, does the quality suffer? Are we using substandard materials? It's consistent with conventional construction materials. The modular fabrication increases the structural requirements. And for anyone who want to talk about that in more detail offline, we certainly can. The standardization allows for a greater quality control, quality QA/QC program. We'll get in a little bit about that relative to what the state requires, what a third-party QA/QC program requires as well. And as John mentioned, there's inherent benefits in working in a controlled environment.
Yeah, and again, we try to incorporate as many of these items as possible into every project. And the process itself is fairly simple. If you commit to the concept of offsite construction early, that's going to be your best bet for success. Then you need to go out and select a team that has experience with this, both on a manufacturing level and then also your construction team and design team. It's preferable that the design team has some previous experience with offsite construction, not 100% necessary, because folks like us and Jim's team, we can help guide through that. But certainly you want to find or work with companies that have done this before. It's something that, again, if you want to achieve all the benefits, have a design team, a general contractor, a construction manager, a modular manufacturer that all is willing to work together in a very collaborative effort. If there's any hiccups in that team, or if somebody's just not committed to the concept, you're going to have challenges and certainly not get where you want to be. So again, do your homework, do the due diligence and research, who can build projects like this, who has built projects. There's a lot of modular factories out there. Some specialize in one fashion or another. Some may be good at wood frame construction for condos or homes. Others might be medical. Others might be explosion-proof buildings. Do your homework and find a company, a manufacturer that has experience in this. And then check their references. Absolutely. Conduct interviews, check references, look at their case studies. A lot of people say they can do this, but they haven't, and they're looking for that first job. We've been doing it for years. We've been fortunate. At Axis, we've been doing it over 21 years. I've had a relationship with ModLogic for over 18 of those years, and it's been a very good working relationship. During pre-design, you have to understand state approvals and compliance, what the delivery method is, and BIM modeling. State approvals, 35 of the 50 states right now have some sort of modular program that you need to adhere to. Some more restrictive than others, but at least 35 of the 50 states have something in place, and you need to understand that and work with manufacturers that have dealt with that particular state and know how to do your submittals on that type of project. Jim, why don't you take this, the delivery method?
Yeah, I mean, just understanding, what offsite means and how it impacts the project. There's an overlap of design and the construction phases. Again, there's no magic to it, but we had the ability to be able and we don't skip steps, which is important. We have the ability to have overlap of design and construction phases, the concurrency with respect to what's happening in the factory and what's happening on site. We're design assist. This is hugely important. We're not trying to fit square peg into a round hole. We're working together collaboratively with the architect, the contractor, to be able to facilitate the build. We mentioned BIM. Those of you who are on the call understand architectural and professionals understand what BIM means in the overall scheme of things.
Yeah. Go along with this now if you want to wrap this up.
Yeah, I mentioned the build together process allows for more work to be completed off-site. Hugely important. The coordination of scopes of subcontractors on-site and off-site, and John will tell you this, is hugely impactful. If you don't get it right, it'll be a challenge. The build together process, which again is kind of unique to us, it exceeds conventional construction tolerances. We feel it's better because of what we have to do, and that better relative to other methods because of the precision that has to go into that, the completeness that we can get that building done offsite, and then the coordination, as I mentioned, between subcontractors, physically being able to have those subcontractors come to the factory, see it, understand what the scope of their work is, what portion are they handling, what portion are we handling. It's hugely important.
Right. And this picture on the right there, that's a 3-story dormitory that we completed with ModLogic last year. It's a 30,000 square foot dormitory, 103 additional beds for the school. We delivered that. We were able to get that in for them a full school year ahead of time, but the building itself was constructed as a 3-story building in ModLogic plant. We then deconstructed it and brought it out to the site. Everything has third-party inspections. State agencies have their different rules and procedures. Things for New York, you have to have certified monitors come in. And then we deconstruct the building and we transport it typically on lowboys. It's the best way to do that. A lot of these modules are fairly heavy, the way that they're constructed and designed. They can weigh, some of the modules for the Good Sam project weighed close to 70,000 pounds. So, we coordinate all the transportation, the DOT regulations, making sure we have lay down areas. Those are all things that, your GC or modular company that you're working with really needs to have some experience with and understand those so you don't run into trouble with that. So real quickly, a couple other projects that we recently completed. This was a 2-story, 20,000 square foot healthcare facility in Staten Island, New York. We did this for New York City Health and Hospitals Corp. We were able to get this project done 9 months ahead of what the conventional schedule was calling for. We had an overall time frame on site of 23 weeks, and we delivered that building to a level of approximately 81% complete out of the plant. You see the brick siding and the curtain walls. That was all done in ModLogic's plant. We simply just put the modules back together. This was another one we did for New York City Health and Hospitals in response to the Sandy storm a few years back. This is a 1-story outpatient clinic. Again, the siding that you see on it and the finishes were all done in the plant. And again, this was done in 36 weeks in Brooklyn, New York, right in Coney Island, across from the cyclone.
Hey, John?
Yep.
I just noticed there was a question around the inspections in a local
Okay.
jurisdictions. I'll take that and maybe you can just add a little bit to it. We mentioned third-party inspections. The first part of it is, and the first part of the answer to your question is making sure the agency has in jurisdiction understands exactly what's coming. You don't want them to be surprised that rather than a conventional project, a modular building shows up. So you're engaging them. In the past, it's been an education. More so now, they understand, particularly if they have a state program, as John mentioned, they understand typically what that requires and the limits of their involvement with respect to those off-site inspections. Our third party, which is a independent agency, a company called PFS, nationally and internationally known, is our third party agency. So they inspect on behalf of the agency having jurisdiction. And so 99.9% of the time that's understood, it's accepted, and it's all part of the state program.
Right.
So go ahead, John.
Yeah. So with the third-party inspections, really what that pertains to is really just the work that's being done in the manufacturing facility. We always set meetings up with the local building departments and inspectors ahead of time when we're doing a project such as these to make sure that they know it's coming, what concerns or issues do they have, what would they like to see from us, because ultimately they still have to approve the project and issue a building permit. The difference is that the work that's being done off-site, they're not going to travel out to Pennsylvania or Indiana or down to Georgia to a factory to do their inspections. So that's where the state agencies dictate what the procedure is for inspections. And then the local building inspector, HJ, they're not eliminated from the project at all. They still have complete control and oversight over the site work, foundations, interconnects, mechanicals that are being done on site. So we're still going through the same type of inspections that you would with conventional construction. It's just that a good chunk of it is being done and signed off by, and the liability is being shed to one of these third-party inspection agencies. So I hope that helped address that question.
Thanks, John. There's one other question. Yes, we can send the slide deck out to Tim Burton.
Sure.
I'm sure to be available through the host of the conference.
Yeah, we can absolutely help you with that, Jim, and we can post it in the Slack channel. I was about to mention that anybody who has further questions absolutely can reach you guys in the Slack channel, whether it's later today or throughout the rest of this week. There's a lot of great conversation happening there. But yeah, really, thank you so much for this incredible presentation. It was great to have you both.
Great. Really appreciate the opportunity, Zach, and thank you.
Okay, we're going to go for a break now until 2:15 in this channel. So we'll see everybody soon. Thank you again.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye now.